Today's lesson from A Course in Miracles is, I will not fear to look within today. Reflecting on my own transformation over the past 8 years, I realize it all began with the courage to be willing for me to look within. Our ego finds comfort in focusing on the problems we see in the world around us, and it is easy to say things shouldn't be the way they are. And that may be correct. However, since these problems exist outside ourselves, we are powerless to change them. This mindset keeps us from meaningful change and instead allows us to remain in a state of victimhood. As one's awareness increases, it becomes apparent that the external reality we experience is a mirror, a reflection of our internal state of being. After decades of trying to control the external world, I came to realize that the only thing I could truly change was myself. And by changing myself, I changed the reflection I experienced in my external reality, opening a new world of experiences for me. This transformation only happened because I was willing to look within and examine my belief system. Many of these beliefs were, and probably still are, subconscious, rooted in fear and conditioning from early in life. Many of us carry the weight of suppressed, fear-based emotions, all of which are rooted in limiting beliefs mistakenly believed to be true. Fear-based beliefs also permeate mass media and social media, influencing the collective consciousness. Put simply, from an early age, most of us are taught to be afraid, which is irrational because, in truth, there is never anything to fear. You might hear there is never anything to fear and think that is preposterous, because I know I would have in the past. When you consider this idea from the level of ego, it will never make sense. The ego's consciousness is rooted in fear, and it cannot comprehend a world where fear is not the dominant paradigm. The purpose of our ego is to limit our consciousness, fixing our awareness on a fixed illusion of reality. The ego exists within this illusion and cannot transcend it. It is only through faith can we accept the idea that there is never anything to fear. But of course, in our modern world, faith can be a challenge. Many of the institutions that claim to be faith-based are anything but, as their original intentions have been long corrupted by human beings living in states of fear. This disconnect is why religion has stopped resonating for so many people. It's not to say that the spiritual truths at the core of these religions are not true. The teachings of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, etc. are timeless and always applicable. It's that the institutions that claim to be the vehicle for these teachings have been controlled by humans in various states of ego over long periods of time and in many ways have lost the plot to their original intentions. Fortunately, it is not necessary for us to engage with any of these teachings through formal religions. These structures may have once served an important purpose, but as our culture has changed, so has their relevance. As I read through the Bible, I am moved by the teachings of Jesus Christ, yet in no way do I consider myself a Christian. Jesus himself was a Jewish priest and did not start a religion. The religion of Christianity was started by human beings in the aftermath of Jesus who saw him as their Lord and Savior. While that belief may work for others, I choose to engage with Jesus Christ in my own way, outside any church or religion. The people who claim to identify as Christians can follow their beliefs, and I can follow mine. They can interpret these texts in the way they feel best serves them, and I am not bound by their interpretation. I don't have to be guided by what some pope or priest or council from hundreds of years ago decreed to be true. I can instead be guided by the truth that exists within me. And this is, of course, true for all of us. When we reach a place of stillness and quiet the mind, we can fully appreciate the idea that there is never anything to fear, not because it logically makes sense, but because it feels true. Again, your cognitive mind might object and say this is crazy. The cognitive mind is rooted in fear and can never fully understand this. As I struggled with chronic and pervasive anxiety for much of my life, I can understand the challenge this poses well. Looking within ultimately led me to more peace and a better relationship with myself. As I reflect on why I experience such states of anxiety, I can see it is all related to my emotional state and belief system. Throughout my life, I had suppressed and repressed many painful emotions. Emotions that we avoid are stored in our non-physical energy body. And there's various ways to understand this. Eckhart Tolle, if you read The Power of Now, talks about this as our pain body. Because of all the painful emotions I was carrying with me all the time, it became unpleasant for me to be in my body. That is, for me to bring awareness into my body and how I felt, because it usually didn't feel very good. So instead, my awareness would move up into my head, and then the endless stream of fear-based, anxious thoughts would run through my consciousness. I was plagued by this chronic anxiety because my cognitive function was doing what it was supposed to do, attempting to identify what I needed to do to feel better. I could never find a permanent solution to feel better. I could only find ways to obtain short-term relief. Much of this was done through my behaviors, and this is at the root of my long-term issues with obesity and emotional eating. Because it didn't feel good in my body, I sought comfort in food. These foods were generally high in sugar and in fat, but low in nutrition. While these foods triggered a chemical release in my body that brought me some temporary relief, they did not give my body the tools it needed to build and maintain an optimal state of health. As a result, obesity became a condition that I struggled with. I tried to address it using only superficial approaches like diet and exercise, driven by my sheer willpower. But ultimately, these efforts always fell short because I wasn't addressing the root cause of how I felt. Addressing my internal beliefs helped me to develop a healthier relationship with food and improve my overall well-being. And there are many things we can do to feel better, and not all of them have the harmful effects of unhealthy foods, abusing drugs or alcohol, or engaging in the other vice behaviors people use to seek relief. There are plenty of healthier, more sustainable practices to feel better. However, it's important to understand that while these practices can be beneficial, they cannot heal the root cause of the feelings. These practices are just ways to treat the symptoms of the underlying fear-based patterns. The only way to heal these patterns in a sustainable way is by examining our subconscious belief systems and letting go of the irrational fear-based beliefs that no longer serve us. Our emotional state is always a reflection of our belief system. We don't feel the way we do randomly. We feel good when we believe certain things, and we feel bad when we believe other things. This is why it is so important for us to quiet our cognitive mind and to live in a state of presence. Many will say that this is easier said than done, and to the extent that it is true, it is an illustration of a lack of faith. As the fear-based feelings and thoughts arise, it is pointing to the fact that part of our belief system is out of alignment with the truth of our divine nature. By looking within and examining our subconscious beliefs, we can see what these beliefs are and that they are irrational and let them go. But this can only happen with faith, and it requires us to be in a state of consciousness above our ego, because our ego will never agree that these fear-based beliefs are irrational, as our ego itself is irrational. Prayer and meditation are valuable practices, as they encourage quieting the mind and reaching a place of stillness, but true mastery comes from living life itself as a meditation. Awareness isn't something to engage with only during formal meditation. We can approach our entire life with the intention of a meditation practice. And as thoughts arise, we can see them for what they are and not identify with them or be captivated by them. Understand that external situations reflect our internal state because they trigger fear-based feelings within us. and allow these feelings to exist from a place of neutrality. Trying to resist what we are experiencing will never work, and resistance will only attract more of what we do not prefer into our life. It is only through acceptance of a feeling that we can ultimately integrate and transcend it. Reflect on why a situation triggered these feelings and what underlying beliefs caused such an emotional response. If beliefs are out of alignment with the ultimate truth that is unconditional love, then from an elevated state of consciousness, we can see that they are irrational and let them go. This is rooted in the truth of non-duality and the understanding that at a high level we are all one, and the separation we perceive is an illusion, and ultimately belief in this illusion is the root cause of all suffering. To attack someone else is quite literally to attack yourself, and once we can appreciate and understand our true nature, we can truly see that there is never anything to fear. The way forward goes through forgiveness, both for other people and for ourselves. Appreciate that anyone who has ever attacked you was acting irrationally, not understanding their or your true nature. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. And this is what Jesus Christ said in Luke 23:34. And this statement is very much rooted in truth, and it is true no matter the level of attack. Anyone who acts on the basis of irrational, fear-based beliefs knows not what they do. Do not take these attacks personally. Take them as an opportunity to reflect upon yourself and your belief system. As you do, you will uncover the belief that makes their attack feel the way it does. As this belief is examined, it will be seen as nonsensical and will lose any hold over you because we cannot hold on to nonsensical beliefs. Avoid ignoring the feeling because that only perpetuates our suffering. Time is a learning tool, and we can use it to our benefit or to our detriment, but we will all learn these lessons eventually, one way or another. If you are ready to make a meaningful change in your life, I invite you to sit in quiet stillness and look within. This is the place where healing happens, through our faith and our connection to the divine.